Today's edition of NHL Trade Talk, we're going to discuss the latest trade rumors for the Detroit Red Wings, the Philadelphia Flyers, the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the Ottawa Senators. And that's coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams. So if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. So let's jump into today's NHL trade rumors. Now today I want to get started with the Philadelphia Flyers. Now the Flyers might be forced to make a deal here, mainly out of necessity due to injury. Flyers goaltender Brian Elliott is out injured, and it could be out as much as 6 weeks. Obviously the Flyers right now are in a major playoff push, trying to lock down a spot. So obviously that doesn't create good news for this team, and they need to have good goaltending in order to get into the playoffs. So could the Flyers go shopping for a goaltender? I think there's some decent goaltenders that could be picked up for a fairly not too steep a price here. I mean, we're looking at, for example, they might want to talk to the Detroit Red Wings. They've got a couple of goalies that could potentially both be on a move. I think the Red Wings would rather move Mrazek. But he could be a short-term option for the Flyers. Now, of course, the Flyers could also look to the Toronto Maple Leafs, who have Calvin Pickard playing in the minors in the AHL, and I'm sure that they would not be opposed to moving him off to return some sort of asset in return. So either way, do you think the Flyers are going to be going shopping for a goalie? Leave me some comments down below and give me your thoughts on that. Sticking with the Toronto Maple Leafs, they proved again last night that yes, they can score goals, they can win, but man, oh man, do they need to cut down on the shots on goal. They could really use some help defensively. Plus, Jake Gardiner got hurt to make matters worse. Now, obviously, Gardner's not exactly known as a defensive specialist. However, he is a defenseman, and he does play an important role for the Leafs. So it's unclear right now how long he'll be out, but I know he did leave the game due to injury and did not return. So hopefully, they can figure something else out here. The Toronto Maple Leafs are in an interesting predicament, as I mentioned a few days ago, that they kind of need to make a move. And to be honest, I'm really surprised we haven't seen anything go down as of yet. I mean, we've had Nikita Soshnikov ready to return off of injury reserve. They're leaving him on IR just because there's no room on the roster. They know if they put him on waivers, he's going to get claimed. They don't seem to want to send down Kapanen or Dermott. So obviously they're kind of in an awkward predicament here, and really I'm not sure how long this can go on without really drawing attention to the fact that they're kind of, you know, in a loophole around the rule here, which I personally am not a fan of, but I understand what the Leafs are doing. It works for them for right now, but I mean, they probably shouldn't push their luck and let this go too long. And not only that, even if the league doesn't say or do anything about it, they're going to have some players that are kind of ready to play and are going to get irritated here, like Soshnikov. We already know Levo wants to play and is not getting any playing time. So, like, really, like, they need to make a move, and they could clearly use some help on the defensive side of the game. So, thankfully for Toronto, Freddie Anderson has been playing amazing and has been probably their most valuable player. Otherwise, they might not be in a position where they are right now for the playoffs, but they're more likely going to run into either the Tampa Bay Lightning or the Boston Bruins in the first round of the playoffs. And really, the way those teams have defensive structures in place, solid decor, and good goaltending, that it's going to be a little harder for them to score goals in bunches. And right now, their scoring is what gets them out of trouble more often than not. But come playoffs, it's going to be a whole different beast, and that's not going to work. So there's a number of defensemen that are out there on the market, you know, that we've talked about that might be available. Obviously, I know we've talked about Mike Green a little bit, but I'm not sure he's really the answer for defensive play. He's more of an offensive defenseman that's not the best on the defensive side. Obviously, there's been the rumblings before, but the Leafs and Rangers hooking up for a McDonough deal. I'm not really sure that's going to go down either. Maybe they look to a guy like maybe a Jack Johnson, perhaps. I'm not really sure. Who else might be a good fit? There's lots of defensemen out there, but none of them are really, you know, exactly top caliber defensemen. So hard to say who the right guy is, but leave me some comments down below. Do you agree the Leafs need an extra, at least one more defenseman, and who should they target? The most likely way of doing this is using guys like Soshnikov and Levo, packaging them up together maybe to get a decent defenseman that can be like a 3, 4, 5 guy or something who can play a little higher in the lineup. Because clearly they're just not cutting it. They're giving up way too many shots, and it's going to come back to bite them in the playoffs if they don't do something to fix this any bit sooner. So let me know your thoughts on the Leafs. And we'll move on here to talk about the Red Wings a little bit further. Obviously, we've already touched on their goaltending. We've already touched on the fact that Mike Green's going somewhere. Whoever he goes to, can pretty well, I don't think it's going to be Toronto. I don't think it's going to be the Capitals either. We talked about a reunion there before. Don't see that happening. I'm not really sure where he ends up because he does have a no-trade clause and he does kind of control where he does go. However, he's going to go to a team that needs maybe a power play specialist or something like that. I'm not really sure where Green goes just yet. I know there's lots of interest, but I don't have a team nailed down just yet. But I can pretty well guarantee the Red Wings are going to do everything they can to get him moved on somewhere to get some kind of return before the deadline comes to an end here. But a couple other guys on the Red Wings that I keep your eye on is Gus Nyquist and Thomas Tatar. I think that due to the situation the Red Wings are in with the salary cap, they need to consider moving some other guys. They've got some other guys also younger, like Larkin, for example, Mantha, a few others. Even Anthony Ciu's on they're all on shorter-term deals here and are going to need raises, and they're already in cap trouble as it is. So they need to move some money out, and those two guys are two of their players that would generate the most interest. So keep your eye on those guys. Leave me some comments down below. Let me know which one of those guys you think is the most likely to go and where might be a good fit. Now let's jump over to the Ottawa Senators. Obviously the other night we saw the big deal go down with Dion Phaneuf going to the LA Kings. And that might be what we call like the shoe drop here. It might just kind of open the floodgates a little bit to the trade frenzy that's going to hopefully go down and give us some more stuff to talk about instead of just rumors and speculation. However, it's kind of believed now that the Ottawa Senators are just getting started. If you look at the trade bait boards on sports sites like TSN, they're just peppered with Senators players. A new player that's kind of jumped to the forefront that I don't think the Senators were real serious about trading before, but are now is Erik Karlsson. Not to say that it's anything to do with his performance, because he's played pretty well lately, but I think they were already kind of tinkering with the idea of maybe moving him, but center icemen are really hard to come by. They've got Matt Duchene, Erik Karlsson, Jean-Gabriel Pageau. They traded Nate Thompson already. He was their fourth-line center. So it is possible. I mean, if they trade Karlsson, they could still hang on to Duchene and Pageau and have some depth there. And then next year they can figure out who's going to be 3 and 4. But the fact of the matter is, Erik Karlsson would be the best center iceman available in the trade market, and I think the Senators believe they could get back a pretty good haul in order to trade that player out. The believing asking price right now is a first-round pick, a prospect, and a third piece. I'm not sure three pieces is what's going to end up coming back if they do the deal, but personally, even if they can get a first-round pick and a decent prospect, I think they should go ahead and do the deal. They might as well. He's only on contract for 1 more year, and it's hard to say if he'd be back beyond that time. Anyway, obviously there's lots of other guys generating interest in Ottawa, but we've talked about them quite a bit. That being Zach Smith, Johnny Oduya, Mike Hoffman. They're still up there on the trade bait board. There's really no new news on where they may or may not end up, but they're certainly still out there. But I'm going to leave you with one last tidbit, which I got from Elliot Friedman's 31 Thoughts podcast, which is he doesn't think it's a foregone conclusion that the Senators won't trade star player Erik Karlsson. He doesn't have any sources or any information indicating they're going to or they're planning on it, but he's just not convinced that it's not going to happen. So I want to know your thoughts. Is this something that, is he onto something here? Do you think it's a real possibility? Because I know when the Phaneuf trade went down, a lot of us, myself included, kind of thought this is probably clearing cap space and money that they can put towards Karlsson's new contract that they can start negotiating this summer. So obviously I know they brought back Marian Gaborik, but in my opinion, Gaborik's going to be a prime candidate for a buyout this summer, and I think they can really clear up their cap situation substantially between now and then. So they should have the available funds to pay Karlsson if they want to and are able to come to an agreement on doing that. So let me your thoughts down below. Do you think it makes any sense that Friedman might be on to something here, and maybe the Senators could pull off a big surprise trade and trade their star player? Don't forget as well to follow us on social media. You're going to see our Twitter handle on the screen right here. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, and all those are linked in the description down below. So check those out. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. We will catch you next time.